Hello and welcome to this episode of Demystified as we explore home cooking in a modern world. Hello, I'm Linda and I'm here with my friend Paul. Hi Paul.
Hello, Linda.
How you going?
Monday.
It is a Monday morning and it's just started to rain here in sunny Brunswick. So how good's that?
Fun
so
times.
The rain on the roof might drown us out. Cooking vegetables, Paul.
Vegetables.
It's one of the things that when I first got my steam oven, I just loved being able to throw in vegetables. And they just came out so tasty. None of the flavour had drained away.
Mm-hmm.
Dougie used to always prefer the microwave for speed and ease of cleaning. But no, since we've had the combi steam oven, that's the way we do them.
Yeah. There's a bit of evidence out there to suggest that it's the best way to retain nutrient content in your vegetables is by steaming them. How true that is, I'm not 100% sure. Certainly the microwave thing I can't quite evaluate just yet because a lot of people say a lot of different things about what microwave does to food. But certainly vegetables from a blanching perspective, it's actually, you can see it. So, and I'm not talking the nutrient content, but you get a visual idea. So when you generally blanch, let's say green vegetables in a pot of water, you tip the water down the sink and the water's greenish. And that's a lot of the colour and a lot of the nutrient being cooked out into the water, which you then discard. So from a health perspective, it's certainly much better. Speed, look, versus a microwave, you're never going to beat a microwave for speed, but what it does to your food, I still don't fully understand.
I think the difference for me was there's very little tolerance in the microwave. Yep, it's really fast and it can do things really quickly. But if you put your veggies in and you've cut them smaller or you don't have as many as you normally have, and let's say you put them in maybe for 5 minutes and you put them in and they should have been only for 4, there's a marked difference. Whereas in the steam oven, a minute difference isn't really going to matter.
Yeah, this is not something that I can really comment on because I don't cook vegetables in a microwave and I honestly never have. So I might be missing out on something.
No,
but I have never ever done it.
It's probably the thing that we used to use our microwave for most.
Yeah.
After, the 1980s when we used to have that little steam basket in a pot of water.
Yeah.
Then we moved away from that as we moved more towards the microwave, just for more convenience and speed and not doing dishes by hand because, as you know, until a few years ago we didn't have a dishwasher, so the less we could put in that sink, the better.
Yeah.
But the tolerances are really low.
Yeah.
And really easy to overcook.
Yeah. And the other thing with steaming your vegetables is, well, the flavour that they retain. So, yeah, the nutrient content and stuff like that, but the flavour they retain because they're not being drowned out by anything. So, like I say, the microwave thing I can't really comment on, but certainly blanching. Blanching is we used to call it big pot blanching in the restaurants. So we would have first job of the morning after turning the lights on was put a big pot of water on to blanch the vegetables for that day or that lunchtime service. So it might be green beans or something just to get them a head start, and then we would put them into ice water to stop the cooking process and finish them off as the orders came in. But certainly steaming them, and you can do the same process. You can steam your vegetables and then shock them in ice water to stop the cooking process. But steaming them certainly, I think, lends a lot more sort of natural flavour to the vegetables. So we've done quite a few on the website, just very simple vegetable dishes and just steamed vegetables, just with some olive oil and garlic and nuts and things like that. And they always work out pretty good. Bit of a rule of thumb for me, green vegetables Now, I'm generalising, but sort of 5 to 7 minutes is about it. You don't need much more than that. Now, a lot of people will talk about, and a lot of people who are in the combi steam world um, constantly talk about just throw them in and turn the oven on and just go from cold. I don't agree wholeheartedly with that method. I know, and I've had been doing quite a bit of work on this for my other job.
Your day job?
Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense to me for the steam generator to start working, the oven to start working, everything to sort of slowly get up to temperature, and then during that entire time the vegetables have sort of semi-started cooking. I think it throws your timing out. And when was the last time you put some green vegetables in a pot of cold water and then put that on the stove and brought that to the boil?
Oh,
Never.
never.
So you generally, if you're going to blanch your vegetables, and look, we're just talking about getting them cooked now, but if you're going to blanch them, you bring the pot of water up to the boil, you drop your vegetables in, away you go. Why is it different? Because we're doing it in a steamer. Even in an old school, like you're talking about, a bamboo basket, you would put the wok on with the water in it, bring that up to the boil, put the vegetables in the bamboo basket, and then put that over the already boiling wok. You wouldn't you wouldn't wait. Like, you wouldn't just start it from cold. The only vegetable I really start from cold is potatoes. But even then, in the steamer, I just let... By the time I've peeled the potatoes, I've done whatever I need to do with them, the steamer's up to temperature. And as far as temperature with your vegetables, above 85 degrees is where you have to be. So 85 degrees will get them cooked. How quickly depends on the vegetable. So carrots will take ages at 85 degrees. They'll still take a while at even 100. But I am yet to see any super beneficial reason for cooking them below 100 degrees. I haven't... Like, fruits are a bit different, so steaming fruits and stuff, but we're more talking about vegetables. So, like, I'm sort of pushing along the lines of sous vide. A lot of people will talk about doing sous vide vegetables at 85, 90 degrees, but I still don't see the benefit of doing that. That 15 degrees I haven't seen makes a huge amount of difference.
Why would you sous vide vegetables? Like, I guess what I can absolutely understand why you'd sous vide a duck breast or meat of any kind. Proteins, meat in non-chef language. But to vegetables which are so generally quick to cook, easy, I don't see the value in having them cook in a sous vide. Maybe it's me. I don't, because I've never used a sous vide machine.
So things like, I will do things like fennel, okay, sous vide, but it's almost like doing a confit. So I actually put a whole lot of olive oil in there, and essentially the oil is the cooking medium in the bag which cooks the fennel. So I'm pretty selective about what vegetables I will do. Early days with sous vide, there was a lot of, early days when it came around, because sous vide's been around for a long time, but when it started to get a bit trendy, when, El Bulli and Thomas Keller and all those guys were starting to really make it a little bit more globally known, the technique, there was a lot of talk around doing green vegetables sous vide, and the reaction that one of the nutrients, or maybe even the chlorophyll in green vegetables, had doing sous vide, and there was talk about it tainting the flavour. Is that true or not? It's very hard to tell. Like, I've tried, so I've done asparagus and things like that. I've tried. I have done sous vide white asparagus, and the reason is because that sort of vegetable has got a quite distinct flavour, and if you cook that out even in a steamer, you lose a little bit of that flavour. So I suppose, why would you sous vide a vegetable? It's much like why you would sous vide a piece of meat, not only for the temperature control, but it's encased, and you totally lock in the flavour. I'm not a huge fan of it as far as vegetables, doing the sous vide technique. Like I say to you, I still struggle to see the benefit. I might cut my potatoes really small and do what's called a fondant potato, so essentially cooked in butter or fat. But I'm using the steam oven there to warm the fat or the butter. So that's really what the cooking medium is without actually getting any sort of roasted colour on it. So that's one technique I would use as far as vacuum sealing vegetables, but very rarely. I'm yet to see the benefit. So only a handful of things like potatoes, depending on the preparation. White asparagus, certainly. I really like doing white asparagus like that. Fennel. Maybe some of the harder herbs that you want to do a long, slow cook with. Harder vegetables that you want to do a long, slow cook with. But leafy green vegetables and green vegetables in general, beans, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and we can talk about them because...
Ducky loves them and I hate them. Anyway, but yes.
Peas, anything like that. I actually just think you're better off putting them on your perforated tray and steaming them. Carrots, you could probably argue both ways. Carrots, I think the important thing with carrots when you're going to steam them is don't peel them. Just get a clean scourer that you would use in the sink, not a steel one, but like a sponge scourer type combination thing, and just give them a scrub. That's the best thing for all carrots, Dutch carrots, large carrots, whatever. Don't peel them because all the flavour's right underneath the peel. So just give them a scrub under running water and happy days. That's enough. Potatoes we've done 1,000 times, mash. I think mash is a really good example of steam. So most people will boil their potatoes. The problem with that is that there's two things with it. One is that when you boil potatoes, water gets into the potato. So if you've ever seen anyone make gnocchi, or they'll often bake whole potatoes on a bed of salt, and that's actually the salt is there to help get rid of the moisture out of the potato, so they're as dry as possible. Same theory, people will do that when they're making mash as well. So a lot of people at home will boil their potatoes to make mash. You are better off steaming it just from a water content perspective. Now, the only drawback to that is depending on the potato time of year, sometimes you'll get potatoes that are really starchy, and if you steam them, you don't get that starch out, so then boiling them at times can be better to get the starch out of the potato, so you don't end up with gluey mash. But I think that just comes down to pick the right potato. So generally, you'll be able to get good mashing potatoes all year round, generally, and just make sure you pick those potatoes for mashing. I'd tell you what they are, but they're different all over the world.
And I can vouch for the gnocchi because it does take out, it doesn't get as wet.
Yeah.
And for making potato salad.
Yeah.
We make potato salad, every week.
Yeah.
In summer, and it's fantastic. You don't get that overcooked, really falling apart, crumbling.
Yeah. I like the little baby potatoes for potato salad. And you can just throw a whole tray in and let it go. And then when you're about 10 minutes from the end, is it quicker? It's probably equal in time to blanching or boiling. Maybe fractionally slower, but I don't think that much slower. And how long does a potato take? Potato takes as long as a potato takes, what I mean? But the thing with potato salad is a lot of people will put egg in their potato salad. So in the last 10 minutes, just throw some eggs in the same tray and, you're getting to do your eggs for your potato salad at the same time. So, there's a lot of, but leafy green vegetables, sort of those Asian type vegetables, bok choy, choy sum, gailan, all that sort of stuff. You're in that 4 to 6 minute range as well. So not very long. And I'm saying this as though the oven's been already up to temp and heated. So the steam generator's already running. Yes, when you open the door, you lose a bit of steam, but you've got some warmth in there already. So, yeah.
Spinach, silver beet?
Yeah, spinach is less. Spinach leaves is much less. Silver beet, fractionally longer. Depends if you leave the stalk on or not. If the stalk's on, you need a little bit longer. I actually would prefer to do the stalks in first and then give them, 2 or 3 minutes and then throw the leaves in after.
Okay.
We've done leeks as well. Leeks were really good steamed.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you need to add some flavours to them, but leeks worked out to be really, really good.
I think I've said it before that one of my favourite steamed dishes is a snapper with leeks.
Yeah.
That sort of white fish cooks really well. The leeks underneath and the mustard and butter.
Yeah.
Easy.
I mean, it's a pretty classic combination, but yeah. And Brussels sprouts we sort of touched on before, and I did get you to eat them.
Yes.
And they weren't.
No, and pulling the leaves apart, they are sweeter than, and Dougie will steam them and, when we had our steamer, which still sadly isn't working, but he would steam them, but just that they're not my personal taste. I do prefer them pulled apart.
Yeah, so a lot of people find them bitter.
Bacon.
Yeah.
But the one doesn't go with bacon.
Yeah.
A different podcast for another day, maybe.
Bacon.
The joys of bacon.
But so Brussels sprouts are often associated with that exact reaction. It's that sort of bitter, oh no, I'm not a fan. And the reason being is that because they're so dense and compact, and the leaves are so tightly bound together, to get it cooked in the middle, like you see people all the time, they make a little cross in the base of the Brussels sprout. Some people will stab like a little skewer into them just to get some heat into the middle of them so they don't cook as long. The longer they cook, the more bitter they get. So my theory was pull the individual leaves off and just steam the leaves. And that
worked really well.
Much better. So if you're not a fan of Brussels sprouts, give that method a go. And you just pick the leaves off one by one. And it doesn't take too long. But you can make an entire side dish out of Brussels sprouts, which doesn't have that bitterness. Certainly the core of the Brussels sprouts, where it starts to go from green to very pale yellow. The pale yellow part I don't use because that seems to be where it's really bitter. But yeah, that's another good technique. A couple of things that I've noted that don't steam well as far as vegetables. So eggplants just shies them.
No? It doesn't work?
No, I don't think it does. I haven't had any sort of success with anything other than char grilling or roasting over open fire flame or a really heavy hard roast. And I think that's got to do with the bitterness as well. So you can't cook that bitterness out with steam, even if you cut it open and do all sorts of things. It just doesn't seem to work. And I'm not a fan of steamed courgette or zucchini, wherever you're from. It's not. I think it's to do with my childhood because my mother used to steam zucchini and it was always terrible.
Oh, but when we were kids, the pot of water would go on and the beans and the peas. My dad had put in sugar.
Yeah.
And sometimes a bit of vinegar.
Yeah.
And then just cook it for half an hour. And he'd be like, what? I know. It was... No wonder kids my age and even down to your age, didn't eat vegetables when we were young. That was terrible.
Yeah. So, and just be aware too that when you're looking at your user manual or guide or whatever it might be, a lot of brands, I mean, it's getting much better now, but if you've got an older oven, a lot of brands, their cook times for vegetables are way out. This was something that I actually did a bit of work on looking at. And it was right across the board. I'm not picking on any particular brand, but they would have 25 minutes for asparagus. Just when you're doing your vegetables, just start off with full steam, 100 degrees, so as hot as you can get it on a standalone steam mode. And just think, okay, if it takes me about 6 or 7 minutes for these to blanch in a pot of boiling water, it's going to be very similar. It's going to be really, really similar. Depending on the vegetable, it might be quicker, or it might be 1 to 2 minutes longer, but that's about it. A couple of other good sort of tips. Broccolini, which is quite popular. Just peel the stalk a bit, so give it a really light peel. That stalk is quite hard, and you need to get into the soft underbelly of that stalk. Blanching them works better for the stalks, but steaming them works better for the heads. So to counteract that, give them a little bit of a peel is always
That's
just
a
on
good
the
tip. Yeah, that's a good tip.
everyone breaks away that woody part of the asparagus. If you've got really thick asparagus, break away the woody part and just give it a light peel, just the bottom sort of 2/3 of the asparagus. It'll cook much better. What else is there? So fennel steams really well as well. So fennel's a good one to steam.
Artichokes? I love
artichokes. We've done artichokes as well.
Love artichokes.
Effort to prep artichokes. It's a bit of a skill to learn how to prep artichokes, and you have to be reasonably quick. Jerusalem artichokes is another one which they're only just sort of in season now, so we might do something with those shortly. They're a tuber. They're not actually an artichoke, so they're related to sunflower.
Oh, okay.
They've got nothing to do with an artichoke, but the texture of those is a little bit. I'm not sure how well it'll go with steam, but we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, just experiment.
Beetroots?
Yeah, beetroots are really good steams. If you like,
I know you love them.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And the one thing there was 2 things that my father cooked. 3, I lie. There's 3 things that I only ever saw my father cook in 40 years. One was barbecue, which was really badly done. Always overcooked. It was a black medium rare. The other thing was a tomato relish recipe that I think was my great-great-grandmother's, and he would get out there, and I distinctly remember him wearing protective eyeglasses that he used to wear when he had the chainsaw out cutting down wood, because it had so much onion in it. So he would stand outside. We've got a big butcher's block. He would stand outside and chop onions for what seemed like hours. And the other thing was beetroots, and he used to love getting fresh beetroots and doing like pickled beetroots. So if you want to do your own jars of beetroot and stuff like that, really good way to go about it. Really, really good way. And you just do them a la natural. Give them a scrub under running water. Take the leaves off and just steam them skins on, and the skins will peel straight off. So yeah, they're really good.
They're coming into season in Australia too, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, beetroots are around. Celeriac is another sort of one. And all of these things, what you can do, and it's sort of, we've played around with this a little bit, and I'm not trying to overcomplicate things, but if you want a really very easy, sort of natural, no fat, sort of very simple soup, to do a potato and leek soup. Seriously, chop up some potatoes, chop up some peeled potatoes, chop up some leeks, steam them until they're like really, really cooked, and just warm some stock and some milk on your stove. Put it all in a blender and blend it. You got a soup pretty quickly. Now, I would say you're better off sweating your leeks in a whole ton of butter on the stovetop and doing it like that. But if you just want a, guilt-free soup, that's a really good way to go about it. So remember, your vegetables don't just have to stay what they are. So I'll quite often do purees for work. One of my favourites is I actually grate carrot. So just on a box grater on the coarse side, and I just grate a whole tray of carrot, and I just cook it, steam it. I can't tell you how long. It's probably about 20 minutes, but I don't care, because I know that by cooking it like that, I'm not losing the colour, and I want it fully cooked, like it's almost like mush. And it's really good for baby food too. So I just take that straight into a blender, and then on the stovetop I just make some brown butter, and when I've put the carrot in the blender, I turn the blender on and I just pour the brown butter in, as though I'm making a mayonnaise, and that makes a puree. So if you ever want to make some really good purees, same can be said for, like, parsnips, another one.
Yes.
Like a parsnip puree can be as simple as grated parsnip and just a little bit of cream and butter, warmed, and then you just blend it all together. And there you're getting, like, restaurant quality purees, because your vegetables are cooked for a really long time, but the benefit of not cooking them on the stovetop is that there's no chance they're getting any colour. So your parsnip puree will be pure white. So you retain.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, you retain the colour. So any puree for that matter, like a spinach puree, like you can keep it super green.
I think this is a great topic for some little instructional videos.
Purees. Yeah, well, I mean,
because
we could do.
One of the first things you taught in cooking with steam was I think it was a celeriac puree.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely sensational.
Yeah, and very simple. Like you don't need.
But you forget to go back to those recipes just for that one thing. But it was great with steak.
Yeah, and the good thing about a puree like that is because you have very little else going into it, it's really the essence of what it is you're cooking. So if it's celeriac in that scenario, the good thing is it cooks quickly and it really is super, super flavourful of that celeriac flavour. So you don't need a lot. So I could do enough puree for 10 main courses with half a celeriac. Like you don't need a lot. Sure, you want to add some other bits to your dish, but then you can add other sort of flavour profiles like, roasted shallots, and you've got the flavour of your beef, and then, you could probably have some blanched Brussels sprout leaves and, very, very simple stuff, but the celeriac has its own sort of, punch to it. So any purees and things like that, I mean, one of the other first ones I did was an apple puree. I know we're talking vegetables, but anything that you can sort of grate, you can puree.
Well,
from a vegetable perspective,
except for
eggplant and zucchini. But
it might seem like the bleeding obvious to you, but as long as I've known you and I've watched you cook, it's never actually occurred to me to do it in that way.
Yeah, or you can make a pea puree. You can make anything. Trick with a pea puree to get it nice and smooth is a pinch of bicarb soda in the blender. So you put a pinch of bicarb soda in the blender, and the bicarb helps break down just that outer skin of the pea, and that will also help it stay green.
I think that's actually a pea puree. The very first meal when you were chefing and I met you, and I asked you to idiot-proof a meal for me to take home to Dougie, who had been travelling for quite a while and was coming home, and you gave me a pea puree and some steak and some potato, and you told me exactly how long. And that was the beginning.
Yeah. But, I mean, celery I haven't really done with. Celery is kind of a nothing vegetable to me. I think it, again, comes back to my childhood. We used to get celery in our lunch. So I'm not a big fan of celery. I think celery is okay in juice. Like
and in the roast chicken dish with the carrots and
celery. Even then, it's just sort of there. It's a bit of a filler. It's like the styrofoam in a delivery you get in a box. Like, it's just kind of there.
Sorry for all those people who grow celery.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown it. It's semi-necessary to have. I like celery heart, and celery leaves. They're good. But celery itself, Sweet potato and pumpkin, you need to treat with some sort of caution because of very high moisture content. So pumpkins are related to cucumbers. And some pumpkins have upwards of 70% water content. So if you want to make a pumpkin puree, it's super easy. But don't be surprised if you need to sort of drain it a bit, because remember, it's got water in it, and you're also activating it with what is essentially water being steamed. Same with sweet potato. But for your sweet potato, it's actually a good method to do before you roast them. So your sweet potatoes will get some nice colour on them if you've steamed them first. Pumpkin's a little bit different. Doesn't have the structure that a sweet potato does. It's a little bit more fibrous pumpkin, or squash in America they call it. Good for a soup. If you want to steam your pumpkin, good for a soup. Just things like pumpkin, just use those flavours that will sort of enhance that flavour. So in the case of pumpkin, a little bit of fresh grated nutmeg is always good. If you just want to do that sort of guilt-free type cooking, you just steam some pumpkin and you'll only need the tiniest little bit of stock to blend it with because it'll have that much water, salt, pepper, and a grated nutmeg, and you'll have a soup. So super simple. I still think you're probably better off caramelising some onions, getting some colour, like I've talked about this before. But I'm not here to dictate how people cook. You just and don't forget that you can also take things like, in the case of, let's say, making a steamed pumpkin soup, what you could do is ramp up the flavour by adding some chilli, ginger, garlic, and maybe blend it with a little bit of coconut cream. Then you've got that sort of Asian-y vibe to your pumpkin soup, and finish it off with a bit of chopped coriander. So there's lots of things you can do, but pumpkin will certainly get steamed quickly and quite damp. I've made pumpkin gnocchi a lot, and what I actually do is steam the pumpkin, but then I wrap it in it's not a tea towel, it's like we call them chucks over here. I don't know what you call them. They're like a sort of towel, and I actually hang it in the fridge overnight and let it drain and let all the water drain out of it, so it's fully cooked, but it's as dry as it possibly can be. But what other vegetables can we
Broad
talk about?
beans.
Broad beans, yeah.
I'm not sure what they're called around the rest of the world.
No, I think they're called broad beans.
Are they broad beans?
Yeah.
But they are sensational.
Yeah, broad beans are good and quite easy to do because we used to open the pods, peel them, blanch them, peel them, and then finish off whatever the dish is. Similar process here. So you just, throw them on your tray, happy days.
Totally.
100 degrees, like, depending on the size of the broad bean, sort of in that 6 to 8 minute range. Make sure they're cooked. They're ones that you really do need to check. And the good thing about doing vegetables and stuff like that is it's pretty easy to check on the go. And if you need a couple of extra minutes, well, you need a couple of extra minutes. But there's no tried and true time because there's no vegetable that's exactly the same. So,
but they are sensational.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, my favourite are beans, like steamed beans, like green beans, butter beans. They're just delicious, like really, really good. And I just toss them in a little bit of garlic and oil and toasted almonds or something like that. Super simple, but you get that crunch. You taste the bean, quite delicious. Just trying to think about what other vegetables. I mean, we've done onions as well. So we did the onion tartatans, and where we steamed whole half onions.
Yes, that was fantastic. It's one of my favourite little entrees.
Yeah, that was good just as a bit of an experiment, but to reduce the cooking time. Because onions, when you cook them, I mean, for onions to be really successful, they need colour on them, I think, to get the flavour out of them, get the sweetness out of them. But I think ages ago I also did an onion soup.
Yes.
I think I steamed a whole ton of sliced onions. And steaming them first actually removes some of the moisture. So when you transfer your onions from the steamer into the pot, they colour up like really quickly. And you need a minimal amount of oil or butter to get that colour on them. So when I do caramelised onions on the stovetop, for me, I actually did it last night, so it's kind of topical. I just put onions into a cold pan, put it on the stovetop and cook it really slowly until the moisture's cooked out of it. It's kind of similar principle, although what I'm trying to do with the steamer is really soften them up and get them really, really soft and pliable to start with, and then in a pot and give them some colour. So onions work. Garlic I haven't really done steamed. I don't know. Don't know how well that's going to go. Because it's not. It's
I don't know why you
would.
would.
Yeah.
Why would you have standalone steamed garlic? Roast garlic?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Garlic, fresh?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But, yeah, any other vegetables you can think of? I mean, we've covered some of the bases. There's a whole heap of vegetables out there. But, yeah, with your green vegetables, again, get your oven up to temperature, get the steam working, get it running. Single layer, preferable, on a tray. So don't have it all crowded all over the top of each other. Just a nice even flat layer if you're doing vegetables for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't matter. Nice flat even layer, and then about 5, 6, 7 minutes somewhere in there. Potatoes, of course, longer, and the sort of the further you go down into the earth, as far as where the vegetables grow, the longer that they will take to cook.
For those who don't know how to grow vegetables, my hand's up. Although I'm trying, we're learning.
Yeah, potatoes are growing.
Corn.
Yeah, corn. I can't remember. Between sort of 8 and 12 minutes, I think. Corn on the cob.
Corn on the cob.
And that's a really good way.
It's one of the joys of life, really, isn't it?
Really,
corn on the cob is one of the best things. Oh.
Yeah. Corn's really good. Again, that's another thing that I remember from my childhood is having corn, fresh picked corn.
Yeah.
Delicious. But really good for those barbecue fans out there too. If you steam it first, you can really crank the heat on your barbecue and get a big sear happening on the outside and give that sort of charred colour to it, which gives the corn a different dimension. So you can really get that happen quickly rather than trying to do it sort of over a longer period of time. So steam your cobs first. Works really well. We've done, I think, a couple of different recipes with corn, made salsas, and did whole corn as well. But corn's a really good one too.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I think that's sort of covered most veggies.
Yeah. If anyone's got any questions, just
info at cookingwithsteam.com.
Yeah, we can help you out.
Happy cooking, everybody.
See you later.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this podcast as we explore home cooking in a modern world. We'd love you to subscribe, and for more information, please go to our website, cookingwithsteam.com.